Have you ever left a conversation thinking, wait, did that really happen the way I remember? Like you came in feeling hurt or confused and you left like apologizing for even bringing anything up? First, it's like a subtle joke, a little comment, then sometimes people are saying things, it's questioning your memory, questioning your tone, your reaction. Before you know it, you're Googling, am I too sensitive? Like a damn personality quiz. Yeah, I'm talking about gaslighting. That sneaky, quiet, hard to pin down emotional manipulation that makes you second guess pretty much everything that you're doing. On the last couple of episodes, we were actually go through some really cool things. We dove into some like really good kind of connections between people. Tristan, what's one that you think is your favorite?
For me, I think ghosting, just the art of ghosting and just a lack of like closure and the trauma that it creates amongst people, and just like the idea that it's like the last kind of like final step of that manipulation between two people.
Hmm. And how about Andrew, man? What you get on? What do you connect with?
For me, it was just getting being on the hook. You start having those conversations with someone, you start really feeling like involved, getting into like a lot of different thought processes and going on in your head, like, oh, maybe this could be a good thing to proceed forward. And then the next thing you know, you're on that far end, like Tristan brought up that ghost inside that we talked about last week.
Man, definitely, definitely. I've been there. I mean, I know we have all been there, whether it's a relationship, a situationship, a friendship. The gaslighting is kind of like we can almost think of it that weave that's pushing everything together. It's kind of sewing all parts of this together. So
Mhm.
today, what we want to do is go over all of that information. If you've ever questioned yourself, am I crazy? This one, this one's for you. Welcome to episode 4 of Just Another Take.
You know who made it.
So, episode 4, Just Another Take. Really kind of some cool stuff that we're talking about. The rundown from here down over to the internalized gaslight. We got some crazy topics, things that really are going to connect to us. And I think this is something that I would like to do all the time is kind of pick one of those things that you think is really going to talk to you. I'll go to you, Andrew, first. Which is one of the ones that's going to talk to you over here?
I guess for me, just for us really talking about what gaslighting is and what you can like kind of like identify potentially. And I mean, again, we are not life coaches, we are not relationship coaches, but just putting that out there. But again, maybe there could be something that we talk about here coming up that you're like, oh, wait a minute. Am I being led on?
Hmm. So just something to talk to think about rather.
Hmm.
Something just to kind of think like, hey, put
Yep.
yourself in the right position. All right, T, what are we saying?
Oh, for me, it's definitely the internalized gaslight. I'm an overthinker. I'm a big overthinker. So for me, just kind of like searching within and kind of like asking yourself, like, what's going on here? Like, am I wrong, or what's really the issue? So for me, just the overthinking aspect for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. Something that we haven't really talked about before is that we all have the same what is it? Astrological signs? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So
Astrology is a good thing.
we all have that same Virgo squad sign. So what's happening with us is like I know for me, I can relate 100% to what Tristan's saying. I'm sure Andrew's the same way. We kind of overthink all the time. For me, I think really the kind of combination, this gaslight hook ghosts thing. I think that's probably one of my favorites. That kind of bringing all of it together because something that we want to do with these episodes going forward. Every month is going to be a set down of at least 4 episodes where we all put together one common theme and everything's reacting or relating to each one. So that's gonna be really cool. Look out for month 2. Uh, all right, let's get into it. So, what is gaslighting? Well, let's start off with the origin. Actually, the origin comes from a play in 1938 called Gaslight, where a man actually manipulated his wife to thinking that she was going insane. Pretty nuts. I mean, here's the deal. For me, it's a form of psychological manipulation. Makes somebody think that their memory or their perception or their sanity is kind of going. It's a way to make people think a different thing. Tristan, what do you got for me? What's your thoughts on this idea of gaslighting?
I see like gaslighting as the ultimate like defense. When you think about it, like like if you're ever questioned, whether in a friendship, relationship, and how do you flip that switch, right? So you just flip it on the person, you gaslight them, you make it really about them, and yet the real issue was with you. So I really think it's just like an ultimate defense at the end of the day.
Mm. Andrew, what you thinking?
For me, gaslighting is, a way to make sure you have control in that, relationship or situationship or any situation that it is where you can pretty much make whoever's involved do what you need them to do or want them to do.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, it's all about what you guys are saying. The control, the defense. Sometimes you got to go on the offense before you could go on the defense. So you have to kind of like go in and attack a problem that you perceive as a problem and kind of turn it on its head. One of the things that I like, or I like about this topic, I don't like the gaslighting in general, but I like about the topic is the psychological aspect of it. I mean, how a person has to actually think to be able to say, I'm going to flip what you said on its head and I'm going to make you look like the crazy person. I mean, that's impressive. That's impressive.
Mhm.
What I would say is for us in our conversations, we're seeing that everything that we talked about so far, every episode 1, 2, and 3, whether we're talking about social media dynamics or going on to the hook or getting ghosted, had this underlying of gaslighting, right? So, what do we say? I liked how Andrew said one of the bigger things is having that control, right? But how about speaking to the power aspect to it? Tristan, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think it's, again, it goes to like that power struggle between the two people. When you're in that relationship, and it's a balance, but unfortunately it never really works out like that. And that's where someone takes that power, and you lose that balance. So I feel like 100%, it's a theme, and it's with whether you're getting hooked, and it all starts with the gaslighting when you think about it, right? Because then you're just kind of left there scrambling, like, wait, oh, I guess it is me. And then they got you. At that point you're hooked, right? And then eventually the ghost comes and then they're gone.
Mm. So with that, I think like just to add to what Tristan's even saying, the idea of being on the hook and gaslighting, where do you see, somebody kind of falling into pit traps or even defining themselves getting into that, Andrew, when the idea of being on the hook and gaslighting at the same time?
Mhm. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously getting into today, we're doing some research and, early on in those like getting on the hook phases, you might get a lot of compliments. It's easy to kind of go back and forth and have those flirtatious kind of vibes get going and we all start feeling nice. And I know you touched on it last week, you brought the science into it and with what the body's kind of doing with the hormones and all those kind of endorphins where you got all this good feel good and you're getting all these, oh, you're so pretty, you're so handsome, you're this, that. And now you have all this good feelings. And that's where you're kind of hoping to get from this person. And they can go ahead and just use that against you, kind of flip that switch and play that kind of mental warfare.
So I think the key word we were thinking is love bombing, right?
Yep.
Love bombing somebody, and what you're doing is you're just giving them all the love. I give you all the love,
All
all
the
the love,
praise, everything that you kind of
everything.
want to hear.
Yep.
They figured out your exact love language and you're like, oh, this is beautiful. And then next thing I know, It just kind of changes.
So when we're talking about the maintaining of power, we have like this idea of power, but also the emotional and physical control of that person. Because what you're saying is like, I'm going to shower you with all these crazy kinds of compliments and make you fall for me, right? And as you fall for me, then what I can do is kind of keep you on the hook there, saying, like, oh, I mean, going on the hook kind of thing is like, I'm praising you with all these compliments, but like, we just can't be together right now. Like, and it comes back in. And now you're left saying, what am I doing? Like that I can't, that this person can't want to be with me, or
Mhm,
like, what is it that I'm doing that's kind of making this not work? Why can't they see? I think we even touched upon this also about this episode 2 and 3. Like, why don't they see how great this could be, right? And you're left with this because of the gaslighting,
mhm.
which is it's pretty messed up when it comes down to it. It's pretty manipulative. So what I'm thinking here is, with the discussion of ghosting, right? How does ghosting help somebody who's trying to love bomb you? Like, how does that work? I want to go with that, T.
Yeah, I mean, with ghosting and love bombing, it's just that kind of give and take, right? So someone kind of
Mm,
dangles that in front of you, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and it really plays to the whole thing of like not having something,
okay.
and like when you're so used to having it and then it's gone, and that's when you actually realize like the value, perceived value of it, because it's no longer attainable. And I think that aspect gets manipulated like the most, because like people know that, and they know the power of it, so obviously it's becomes a weapon.
So it's not even just the idea of saying like, hey, um, I'm ghosting you just to ghost you. Maybe it could be a tactic, right? Maybe it could be like, oh, I'm gonna stop talking to you so that you want me more. Is that like what we're thinking here? Like, what I know they say like, distance makes the heart.
Or
Was
grow
that what you were
fond.
about to
Dis-
say?
Distance makes the heart grow fonder, per se. And
Yeah, that
I
BS
mean
nonsense.
it.
I can't.
But
No way.
again, piggybacking on with Tristan and this power dynamic, if I'm the person I did all the love bombing, and now this is a whole tactic. I'm gonna try to get this person to like me, and I'm gonna flood them with everything, and I kind of figured out what they liked, and now let me just start reeling that back. Hey, I'm gonna start bringing that hook back in after I threw the bait there, and now hey, maybe I'm gonna draw more from it, and
Yeah, you're just
and
gonna
you like
chase.
that feeling. Who doesn't
You're
like the
just
feeling of
chasing.
being who doesn't like the feeling of feeling like you're wanted, right? So
Hmm.
you're getting that kind of on both ends of it. The person throwing out that bait, because now they have someone coming to chase them. And now if I'm the person, you're the person getting love bombed, you're getting all the compliments that maybe you haven't heard in a long time or something like that. And yeah, you have that idea of that, oh, this could be that person, and you start ignoring a lot of different things.
It's funny because a word that gets thrown around a lot is the word like narcissist, right? So people bring
Mm.
out that word a lot, like
Mhm.
narcissism and all that kind of good stuff. And
Is
it
narcissism good stuff?
no, it's no, not at all.
Not at all.
That was kind of like a stupid connection,
I
man.
got you. I'm joking.
But what I would say is that when I've once heard, and this is not me. This is not me. I will
Mhm.
preface it with, this was not me because I don't believe in this. I mean, it's crazy. You got to be a true narcissist. But so I was once told that a guy or somebody who's looking to get somebody on this whole, love bombing, and then getting to the point where
Mhm.
you're gaslighting, that you give the 100%, right? And every so often, that person will tend to pull back on the amount that they're giving, whether it's love or affection or it's attention or things like that. And what they do is they pull back the amount, and they do it they do it in incremental amounts. And every so often they're pulling back. So the point where you don't realize until you're at 70% or 60%. And then you don't really step up to say anything until they're at like 50%. And let's say they've been going down in increments of 10 and they're going through this crazy cycle and then they get to the 50 and you finally say like, "Hey, things are just it's not working the same way. It's not that." Their response is to go and give you back another 10%. But when they give you the 10%, they're only actually giving you 60% of their all. And you're taking it like, "Oh, this is great. Look at him trying, or look at her trying. Look at them trying to do more." And it's really not. You played yourself because you lost the other 40% and didn't even realize. And then they continue to do so, and the cycle happens until they have to give back 10 and reel back the 10, give back the 10, reel back the 10. And it's kind of scary because you think of the statistics of people getting married and then getting divorced and all this kind of stuff because of things like this. You changed. You're not the same person that you used to be, right? So like this kind of, we called it the Trinity here. It starts off with the gaslight. You get them, then you get them hooked in, and then you ghost them. And then that kind of stuff that happens, it really messes with you. I mean, I don't know about you. This messes me. What are you
Yeah,
thinking over here?
I
You have any
mean,
comments more?
yeah, I mean, like you said, tying into like the ghosting and that and the hooking and everything, you start, literally second guessing yourself
No,
to a
no
point.
money was exchanged. No money was exchanged. Okay, you can't be hooking
Correct.
out
There's no money, no money. But you begin to second guess yourself. And it makes you very like worrisome about maybe trying to trust the next person that there's going to be. So I believe we're talking about hopeless romantics. You are the most hopeless romantic, but I still believe everyone has somebody out there for them. It takes time to when you get there, but when you have such kind of that self-doubt from other situations, it's hard to now really let other people in. And now the next person's got working 3 times 4 times as hard to kind of gain your trust because you've been through some sort of gaslit situation where you're like, how much can I really let somebody into my life? I've been love bombed this much before. Oh, I know where this is going. Where that really might not be the case, but you have that defense mechanism up now because of what you've been through, because you've been ghosted before, because you might have felt like you've been gaslit before.
Yeah.
I also think it speaks to perception. And that's like a huge thing when you really kind of break down gaslighting, because it's usually like what the other person perceives, right? When they're flipping that back on you and they're saying, well, remember when I said, or you're just being, too sensitive. Now your perception of yourself and your own feelings don't get validated. So now you're just stuck with, oh, well, yeah, maybe, I was being too sensitive. So, again, going back to like this whole defense, deflection, and just ultimately the perception, and that's what kind of gets played with here. Jay gave the example of the the love bombing decreasing over time, and then you give back 10%, but you're really at 60%. You're not at 100%, but in that other person's mind, they're perceiving that increase as a good thing, but in the grand scheme of things, you got shortchanged, you got played. So
And what's wild about that concept is like if you're the person doing the love bombing, like the long term like psychology behind that to think like, oh, I'm going to do all of this, and I'm going to know the exact time when I can just sprinkle that Salt Bay that affection back in, as we
Salt
like to say.
Bay,
Salt
Salt
Bay.
Bay.
But that's really it. We're gonna just I love bombed you, and now I'm gonna throw a little bit of this seasoning in there, and you're like, oh, cool, like this tastes really freaking good.
We're gonna put a thing of Andrew going like this. It's just gonna say affection coming down.
Podcast Poppy putting that love bomb on you, baby.
Podcast Poppy.
Throw the hearts in. Throw the hearts in.
Well, I like that. I'm gonna do that. Don't be surprised. It's gonna happen. So with this it's important for people to realize we're not talking about a disagreement, right?
Mhm.
We're not talking about, oh, you see it one way, I see it one way. No, it's you're saying that you're feeling something and something is going down, and the other person is disregarding it and turning it around on you as my main man Tristan said earlier, flip the switch, right? Where you're gonna go and you're gonna just flip the whole thing on its head and say, it's not that you're feeling this way, it's that you're too sensitive. And you're just too sensitive and everything affects you. And if everything's affecting you, you're never going to be able to survive in this world and things are not going to go your way because you are too sensitive because you're not like your feelings right now. It's crazy. You're
Mhm.
always doing this. And it's like, damn. You start thinking like, "Oh shoot, am I too sensitive? Like is that did I do something wrong here?"
Mhm.
I came in saying, "Hey, listen, when you do that in front of my family and friends, it kind of embarrasses me." And now I'm coming out looking like I'm the one who should be looking for a
Yeah.
psychologist or a psychiatrist because I'm the crazy one.
Yes. Somehow you're in a situation where you might probably feel like you're expecting an apology, and now you have to be the one going to that person like, actually, you know what? I am the one that's sorry. When realistically, probably anybody outside looking in and seeing the situation would be like, wait a minute, what just happened here? Like you
Yeah.
said, that the DJ booth just went.
Yeah.
Like, so no one's
That
dancing on the
it's
floor no more.
it's a huge manipulation. That's what it is, right? It's a
100%.
manipulation of perception, as
I,
Tristan was saying.
I,
It's manipulation of your emotions. It's
mhm.
manipulation of self. It's crazy.
I guess a question for you guys, and I know I'm not usually the one asking questions, but like we're talking about the psychology of it and the thought process. Like, how do you think someone gets to the idea of like, I'm flipping this per se?
Mm.
Like,
Uh,
Uh,
that's a really good I
like
have an answer.
to be honest,
You
like that's
proceed?
as we're talking about this, it's imagine we're on the other side, you're hearing this problem, and somehow during this conversation, because let's be real, it's certain these gaslit moments are just kind of in the moment that we're kind of bringing up. They're listening at everything about how they're going to say, oh, I'm flipping this. I'm taking this, like Tristan said, I'm deflecting this. Yeah, they're taking this moment to I'm making this biggest shield possible and deflecting whatever ammunition's coming at me somehow. And then they're the one getting apologized back to. So like just thought process. We need to get somebody here.
Yeah, go ahead, T.
I think it's really just like natural instinct. Like when you get
Mhm.
attacked, what do? You defend yourself, right?
Yep.
And part of that is, oh, let me flip this back on the person, kind of like how you just ironically flipped it on us, right?
So,
Asking questions. But yeah, I just think that it's natural, right? Someone feels attacked, you're gonna get a response.
Mhm.
And oftentimes that's the response. So I just feel like that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism. And I also think it's a survival of the fittest kind of thing because you don't want to get caught in whatever you're doing and whatever what you're doing wrong. So the person's pretty much getting to the point where I have to do this or something bad's going to happen and I don't want bad to happen to me
Mhm.
because at the end of the day we try to protect our own peace and we protect our own stuff. So if I'm messing up and I'm doing something on the side, I'm trying to make sure that you don't catch it because it's gonna mess up my situation.
Mhm.
Where I can go and get pretty much if you have somebody on the hook, right? Technically, you could actually have them kinda do what you want, right? You could be
Mhm.
like, "Yo, come over and, yo, I'm hungry. Can you make me some food?" And if they're really on that hook, they're like, "Yeah, baby, I got you. I'll come over," right? Or like, I need a little something, something. You want to come over? You take care of
Hey,
this.
no money exchange. No money exchange.
No money exchange. No money was exchanged. But if you have that kind of relationship where you're on the hook like that, it's like the booty call kind of concept, right? Where s- at some point you guys are probably on each other's hooks, right?
Mhm.
But you go and have that come over because so now as the person doing the gaslighting, it makes sense for me to do that to keep you there. And then survival, I don't want to stop it because I'm benefiting too much from this.
Mhm.
And by me benefiting, we don't have to, and like you said, the person could come up to me and apologize and I was wrong. That's nuts.
You know they hit that Looney Tunes devious laugh walking away after the apology.
Yeah. 100%. I was actually just watching a show and that's what happened. Like the guy murdered some guy and then he was like, it was like they were talking, two people were talking about it, and the guy realized there was no evidence pointing towards him.
Mhm.
There was nothing, like he was gonna get away with murder.
Mhm.
And he was just like, and there's nothing that nobody could do. And I'm like, what is this? Like you said, like, what is it,
Yeah.
a Looney Tune
Yeah.
commercial? And you can't do anything about it. Like it's like the evil villain. Like
Yep.
I was like, it's crazy, but that's gotta be going on in their head,
Mhm.
right? Like at some
Yeah.
point. All right. So what go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I also think like there's an accountability piece too. Like, like people just don't take accountability for their actions. So it's real easy to also, kind of again flip it on the other person. So you're not taking ownership of what you're doing, right? Because I'm not doing anything wrong. It's you. It's your problem.
So it's easier to put the accountability on somebody else.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's your fault.
Yeah, trying to pass the buck per se.
Okay. So in this case, you could have it with relationships also in this idea of gaslighting. Have you ever heard of like somebody, like two people together, or like they're really close friends, right? And this is why the girl and guy friend things for me doesn't work. But we're going through and it's like one of them perceives it as more than just friends and one doesn't, right? But the person who knew, they didn't want to be more than just friends. They were keeping this person on the hook and gaslighting them afterwards and throughout and being like, but we're just friends, right? But you can come over and you can rub my feet, or you can come over and you can cook for me, or you can come over and we could even have this like kind of but we were just friends. You're getting crazy now. I think you even brought that up. Was the idea of how somebody can react to kind of a situation like that and kind of go crazy because of the fact that they were getting put on the hook and because of the fact that it's almost like they were wanting more, but the other person didn't want more, right? And that's like the undertones of gaslighting, of saying something like that. Is that what you were? What was? Do you remember exactly what you were at that?
Yeah, it was like more along lines of like the buildup and how that lack of closure kind
Yes.
of, gets people to behave a certain way. And then, we talked about how it would be appropriate times to ghost someone for security, and I think a lot of it is because it's a cause and effect, because it's a buildup. This is over time. And that's why when it finally gets to that point, it's so dramatic and it's, just at that point wild.
So Andrew, do you think like the promising of like a future plan is in that gaslighting, ghosting kind of thing, like where we can come and say, yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. To answer your question, yeah, those plans were especially. Sometimes I'm the gaslighter, right? I know there's this person that I'm like, oh, I got them wrapped around my finger. I can watch what I can make this person do. I'm gonna send this text out real quick. Watch what's gonna happen, right? So yeah, when you talk about those future plans, the other person on the other end, they're looking forward to those plans. Hey, you want to do what now? Yeah, I was supposed to be busy, but I'll free up my schedule. I'll find something, and just right there. So there again, endorphins. You're looking forward. You got some you're looking forward to, and now, you know what? I woke up not feeling too good. I'm just gonna reel that back in over here. But they know I can throw this line back out. Know exactly where to come because we haven't had we talked about how can we avoid some of these ghosting situations and being on the hook situations. We're not having this hard hitting conversation. We're not gonna talk about. I don't have to tell my feelings. I'm not talking about that. And if you bring up feelings in this conversation, you crazy to bring up feelings. All right.
And
Too
they get
sensitive.
annoyed. You get
Yep.
annoyed
Nick-
just
Oh, that's
even
not what
hearing.
yeah,
Oh, like,
feelings. Oh no,
yeah,
So
we're
sensitive.
so
or sometimes
sensitive.
it's a quick. Oh yeah, cool. Like that Yankee game or something. There, you change the topic. There's a quick change of topic where we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, that's a form of gaslighting. But we're going to put a future date. We're going to look forward to it, and then like the moment that's coming up, whether there's hey, we're not doing anymore. Maybe I'm too busy now, or I'm too busy all the time. Or in certain cases, there's no confirmation. You send hey, we're still on for tonight, right? Nada. Can't even get a goddamn smoke sign.
And then it was, I'm sorry, I was really busy. I'm sorry, I couldn't answer.
I'm sorry, I fell asleep. It is 12 in the afternoon.
It is 12 p.m., not a.m.
You taking naps?
For the
You
record.
taking naps? We back in kindergarten? Sign me up for a nap.
I take naps, okay?
As do
I
I.
recently had to explain to Tristan that a power nap is not 4 hours.
Must
Okay,
be nice.
I mean, I thought it was.
It's like an hour.
It's like a 4-hour power. That is a sleep, sir.
Supercharged.
That's what I said.
That is a sleep.
That is
4
not
hours is a
dream.
sleep, sir. You hit REM sleep at some point during that. That is
multiple times.
Multiple times.
Sleep is 8 hours. Anything shorter is a nap.
See, anything shorter.
A nap.
That is a wild definition. Pull up the Webster definition
Pull
of
up
nap,
the
please.
Webster definition. So,
man's gaslighting his sleep.
Yeah.
You gaslighting your sleep paralysis demon, bro? That is crazy.
I know you want sleep, but you can't get sleep.
Okay?
You're just too sleep sensitive.
You trying to catch me in these dreams? Ha!
All right. So if I give an example, right? I'm going to give an example of a random situation. All right. So there's these two people, they're together, right? The one person checks the phone of another person, right? Because maybe it vibrated or something. And one person checks the phone of the other person and sees a text. And the text is explicitly saying to another friend that they messed around with some other girl, right? So that's what the text says. And the girlfriend reads it. Girlfriend starts going crazy. It's like, whoa, what is going on? And the person turns around, the male in the situation turns around and says something like, to the extent of, how dare you check my phone? Right? That's the response. How dare you go through my phone? You're looking at my privacy. That's wild. I can't even trust you. And you would think that I would even do that to you. I'd never do that to you. In that situation, what's the mindset of possible the girl versus the guy? So let's start off with the girl. What do you think, putting yourself in that situation, what are the first things that go through your head? Like, you're like, you just saw something that says your significant other cheated. And then the person tells you, how dare you check my phone?
First, you want to go first, or?
I mean, I feel like it's a crazy psychological spin. Like, I don't want to say it's genius, but it's up there. Because when you think about that, it's like, you got me, you caught me. But what were you thinking doing that? Like, what were you thinking?
How dare you catch
playing detective on me? Like, that's crazy talk. Like, I did something wrong. And then again, it's just like that spin where you flip the switch and it's like, but you also did something wrong because you went through my phone. So if you didn't do that, then this wouldn't have happened. How that works is wild.
Yeah, but I guess tying in with what you're saying is, hey, you kind of ruined the piece that we had because you wanted to look at this. Is, again, if it in the moment,
next level,
in the moment,
mastery,
that is mastery. A hell of a We are watching a master at work here. Like
That
that
is,
is,
but just to turn
but
around and have
but
that thought
on
process.
the again, you asked on the flip side. I mean, there has to be if you're outside looking in again. There had to be something to a point that made the girlfriend in this situation feel like something's untrustworthy, or I need to look at his phone to find out what it is he's really doing.
Mm,
That's that it wasn't just a heat of the moment. I'm just going to check his phone. No, there's like you said, it's a long-term buildup, like you mentioned before, Tristan. There's a series of events that probably we don't, there's obviously don't know about that led her to wanting to check that phone, kind of
mm.
thing. Um,
So like an idea of either A, an insecurity by one, or B, there was something that happened before
mhm.
and they were kind of
There's still
they were
doubts.
on the defensive,
Mhm.
right? To try to catch something
Yep.
that possibly could.
Mhm.
How about the guy? Like what is the guy thinking in
Protect
this
my
situation? Because it could be girls doing the
it's
same thing, right?
survival. Survival. Like you said before, I mean,
Survival.
in this case, I mean, obviously, I'm assuming we still want the relationship to proceed. I'm just being the guy. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'm a guy. Um,
You're just the guy. You're just the guy.
just a guy,
Just the guy.
just a chill guy.
Podcast Poppy.
But in that situation, I'm gonna want to save myself and probably try to save this relationship somehow.
Mm,
I'm probably thinking owning up to it is not going to be good because I'm admitting to have committed infidelity, and maybe the chances are, I mean, we probably had a conversation when we first met. Hey, oh, I'm never dealing with a cheater. I'm out the moment. If I know that
mm.
information, I'm gonna try to protect it somehow.
Yep, yep, yep.
And if the first thing, probably going with the first thing that came to mind was
Flip it.
flip it
Yep.
right away. You know, now again, it's not going to make the situation better because let's be real, long term now, this is going to be one of the events that's either she's still thinking about. Like, I know I saw this message, doesn't mean the message changed. I said what I said to probably get us past this one scenario, but there's always going to be doubts. There's always going to be something. Do you look at somebody a certain way? Why is his
Mm.
phone now? Say I always used to keep my phone up in front of us, when we went out to eat. Now I have it face down. All of a sudden I have a new privacy screen. You know, oh, it doesn't mean anything. Oh, your phone's on do not disturb now.
Yeah.
Different things. So now
Mm.
you're over here. She's always going to be second guessing. He's probably always going to be trying to think of, I did this once. And, we hope or however the situation turned out that, they get past it and they figure things out and shit gets figured out. But it's going to be doubts on both sides. So it's, again, now you're in a long chess match per se.
T, what you got for us?
I see it as like it's a long-term defense because now
Mm.
you, as a guy, when you say, "How dare you check my phone?" Guess
Yeah,
what? Behavior is going to change. Most likely, she's probably never going to check her
check
phone
the
because she's
phone.
going to
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, I was terrible. That was my fault. How could I ever even think about doing that?" And guess what? He's good, right? Do whatever he continue to do whatever he wants. So I think it's just like part of it is that defense, but then it's also going back to accountability. You're also not addressing the issue. So an issue was brought up and you completely deflect it. So it's no longer about what I did, it's now about what you did. But the original issue was never addressed. So is it healthy? Definitely not. It's just your prototypical manipulation at work.
So, what are some of the signs that we would think that we could say if we see this, hear this, think about this, we're probably getting gaslit right now. What are some of the signs, Tristan?
I would say like whenever you seek validation and you don't get it, and where you are questioning yourself, like, wait, am I wrong in this? Do I have the right to feel what I'm feeling? And I think,
Mm,
a lot of the times we do that. And I'm an overthinker. So for me, like I go all the way, like I'm just like in my head all the time, 1,000 thoughts. And it's not a healthy place to be, right? Because we all want answers. And you don't get them often. So you have to find them yourselves. And oftentimes you're gonna really kind of struggle with, for me, like if it's insomnia, like you just can't sleep, or you just like find yourself preoccupied throughout the day because you're still thinking about stuff. So I think that's a big part of it too.
And Andrew, do you what are some of the signs that you think that would kind of come about with this for gaslighting?
So, I mean, again, like Tristan said, I mean, if you're trying to always be looking for answers to something because you're feeling a type of way, it's probably early on. Again, like it's survival. I always feel like you're always going to have some kind of instinct, knowing whether you have that feeling in your gut that maybe those butterflies aren't butterflies of joy per se or
Mm.
happiness. They're butterflies of something's weary that I should be weary about. And should I go investigate that?
Hmm. So what are some of the phrases we should think about? Like one of the one that I always think about is like that you're too sensitive, right? You're too sensitive. What's another one? Guys, just throw them out.
You're thinking too much.
You're thinking too much. Oh,
You're looking
Overthinking.
into you're I think you're looking
oh,
into that too much.
you're looking into this too much. Wow.
Mhm.
Remember when I said?
Remember when I said, "Oh,
I never
okay.
said that.
Oh, that never happened."
Never
Mm,
happens.
Yeah.
Never did
You're
that.
remembering it wrong.
Mm, mm,
That's
You're
not how it
so
happened.
what happened?
That's not how it happened.
That's not how it happened. You're so emotional. It's not that deep.
mm.
Mm,
Ooh.
mm,
Not that deep.
Ooh.
bar.
And how about another one? You always twist my words around. You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Mm.
These are like the
You're
phrases.
not
How about
validating my feelings.
say it again?
Not validating my
Not
feelings.
validated. Yeah, so I think what happens is we hear these phrases and we think of the red flags like what Tristan said. You're seeking that validation, right? And then realizing, "Oh crap, did I overreact on that because I was just looking for my validation of my feelings, but maybe I did overreact." If you like apologize constantly, even if you didn't do anything wrong, but you're apologizing, that might be some emotional red flags, right? If you're second guessing what you're feeling, that's a big one. If you feel like you have to walk on eggshells all the time, like that's another one. And I think one of the ones that I've seen that is like one of the craziest is saying maybe I'm the problem. Maybe it's my fault. And that kind of leads us into a big thing about internalizing that gaslighting. Like saying, is this now the gaslight of myself because of this situation? Um, we talked a little bit about closure and getting that closure and the importance of that. But Andrew, has there ever been a point or when you're just thinking about does it make sense that somebody would actually have to gaslight themselves?
I mean, if you're thinking about like if you're not seeing or you're like ignoring red flags, aren't you kind of like gaslighting yourself to like seeing the better from that person per se?
Correct. Yeah.
If we're
So
talking
you're
about
saying, "Oh, they're doing this because of that.
mm,
Oh, they had a
mhm.
rough childhood, so that's why they're acting
Yeah,
this way."
I know they've been through this and this is a kind of result of that. I'll
So
look
you're
past it.
giving excuses to somebody
So,
to justify why they're acting poorly to you.
mhm.
Wow.
And especially, I mean, we always, you hear about those relationships, or you hear about people who are like, oh, you're always in a relationship with someone you're trying to fix. Like that could be
Mm,
part of their thought process per se. I can fix them because this or that happened to them. I can empathize per se, and let me try to figure out what's wrong or what I can do to help them. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I can handle it. I take on a lot of things anyway,
mm.
kind of deal.
T?
I think the ironic part of this, just thinking about it, is like it's a defense system, but
Mhm,
you're actually creating the defense system for them. So
mhm,
it starts off as that deflection, And then when you're internalizing it, you're like, wait, no, yeah, I was wrong. Like, yeah, and you create these excuses for them, and now they have you playing defense for them, which
Yeah.
I think is like crazy. And you think about it.
Because you're
Um,
defending their behavior by using whatever, and then you're letting them know their own excuse, right?
Mhm.
yeah, it's like a justification. Like you're
Yeah.
justifying the mistreatment of
Mhm.
yourself, and I think that's another underlying issue, right? Because I think at the end of the day, because you have these internal feelings, so you know that there's an issue there. There's something that needs to be worked on, and then you're suddenly justifying why it's okay that you're allowing that,
Mhm.
and that's an issue.
So like it's the common joke, the who hurt you? Who hurt you? Right? So we justify people putting up these defenses and being pretty kind of rude to other people's feelings because they're saying, I'm just going to deal with me because I've been through this nonsense. And then we're justifying their rudeness or not ability to give this the appropriate emotional mature kind of relationship because they've been through that in the past, and we're just somebody must have hurt them in the past because she's doing this, or he had a tough childhood going up, so that's why he acts like this, instead of, and that's like you said, the excuse to gaslighting. Like now they get their excuse because they're saying, oh, I had to do this because
Mhm.
this is how I was brought up, or my past relationship leaves me to do this.
Mhm.
So when you start internalizing that gaslighting, that's when it starts taking you, and I'll ask Andrew a little bit about this, like about, this is the relationship and it should be, and I know you and I have very similar ideas that it should never just be 50-50. It's always, 60-40, where
Mhm.
people are giving and taking. So we have that same idea, but it should be, as far as our feelings should both be on the same level. It's not like your feelings are worth more
Mhm.
than my feelings. And with the
Yep.
gaslighting, it's almost that, where
So,
their feelings are higher and you shrink
mhm.
just
Yeah.
to fit in that.
Yeah, in that someone's looking to just take care of or hey, I'm defending my feelings, and those are those are the only feelings I do care about per se. And like I said before, I'm going to sprinkle in some towards you to make you feel like you're still good. But when it comes to a hard hitting situation, or you catch me on something that most likely I do know I'm not supposed to do, I'm looking at my feelings first over yours. And
Mhm.
there is not going to be a give and take. I'm saying what I got to say or doing what I got to do to defend that and protect my feelings.
100%. T, you got anything for that?
I just feel it goes back to the power dynamics of the relationship, whether it's a friendship or romantic relationship, but just that power struggle between two people. Someone's always going to want to have that quote unquote upper hand. Unfortunately, in a perfect world, I think, ideally you want that 50-50 split, but it's usually not how it works out, unfortunately.
Yeah, but in a healthy relationship, somebody's
Well,
feelings may be in a situation,
mhm,
like if they're, going through something, you put their feelings above and you put yourself down just so that you can kind of allow them to feel that more. If they had a significant loss, or whether it's a life or a job or something, you kind of put yourself in the back burner and say, kind of like what Andrew was saying,
yeah,
forget about my feelings. I can burden this for a while. I'll just help you
yeah,
out
there
with
looks to
this.
be like somebody seems to not be as empathetic as the other.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
and
I mean?
I think this is a little bit farther than that, as in the case of being the situation at all times.
Hmm.
So,
Yep.
kind of rounding out our discussion today and discussion of what we were kind of going through the whole time, at least talking about the other episodes, a lot of relationships deal with power, the power of the emotion, the power of, keeping that person kind of there, uh everybody kind of wants to have that power, but it's also a control of the emotions, a control of the physical, a control of here and there. And it's all about, at least the way that I'm seeing it, and I guess I'll give you guys your closing remarks kind of thing. I like to always think first personally, kind of like what I was just saying about with Andrew, it's on this level, people it's a give and take, and it's not always going to be 50-50. It'll be a 60-40 sometimes it's a 70-30. And I saw this um, really cool, like reel one time, and it was this woman talking about how her and her husband deal with it. And they'll say like they'll say like normally it's trying to be 50-50, but like they'll communicate with each other and be like, I need your 30 today. Like I need your 30. Like, so it's supposed to be 50-50, but I need 30% of yours
Hmm.
today because I'm having a tough day.
Hmm.
And I was like, that is the coolest thing in the world,
Okay.
right? Like I need to, and I can express to you, I need your extra 30% today because I'm having a tough day. And as the significant other, you notice like, okay, they're having a tough day. Let me bring myself
Bring,
down
yeah.
for today.
Hey,
And
you
then the
know,
next time you need it, like I need your 10 or I
yep,
need your 20 today because I'm having a tough day. And then you kind of could gauge, like what you're saying, if
yep.
it's a big deal or is a small deal,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I thought that was really
You're
cool.
not bringing too much to the table per se. Off like, hey, we both came home from work, we had our days, and oh, I had my rough day. I need that little extra. If you don't mind listening a little bit more, and then you
Exactly.
talking. I mean, I only know Ted Lasso from like a couple clips, but I saw that I think it was like Ted's character and like I think the lady who owns the team. They kind of have like a key phrase where they
That's cool.
say, and it's a thing where they just want complete honesty. Hey, I said this statement, but like I can tell it's kind of like on the other end, I'm hearing it. Ted heard it, and they're like, "What's the real meaning behind what you just said?" And it's 100%. Hey, if I say this statement, I want you to tell me what's 100% on your mind. You give me 100% honesty, and I thought that was like a cool little thing. Just a clip that I again saw from the show, and I feel like that's just two people who are kind of working together from what I can understand in the show at least.
Yeah.
Um, in that kind of dynamic. So I can imagine just bringing that into something that's a little bit more intimate.
Yeah. That's awesome. Go ahead, T.
Yeah, I would just say basically, again, like with the whole balance and creating that give and take aspect and control, between two people. I just feel like gaslighting, it's just master manipulation at work. Um, and when you really break it down, it's just like you want to validate your feelings, but they never really quite get validated when you think about it. So I think like that's really one of like the main things is like everyone wants validation. We seek validation, but it's it's not given to you in gaslighting. It's literally the opposite. You don't get validation. And then you're just kind of like left again with trying to search for answers. And it relates obviously to ghosting, right? Same situation. Same thing with being on the hook. It's just a lot of unanswered questions, and it leads to a lot of trauma, unfortunately.
Awesome. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This was like another one of those really cool episodes where we can pick our brains. And soon you're going to start following that Instagram over there, getting all the updates. If you haven't done that, I got to tell you, we have pictures, we have reels, and we have a lot of things that we're going to be updating and asking, including asking for some of you guys, maybe one, maybe two, to come on and maybe talk to us as we're talking and recording one of these episodes. Keep all of that clear. So make sure you go ahead and follow us on Instagram. Make sure you like, you subscribe on our YouTube. You can go to www.youtube.com/. at Just Another Take. We love you so much. And that was just
Another take.
have a good one.